Let's get it.
Like, comment, subscribe. Pelicans have lost 10 in a row, lose to the Mavericks 111
Oh, shit.
106. Before we get into the show, this podcast is sponsored by the Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Boot Crew Media, located at 918 Porter Street by the Superdome. Give them a call at 504-523-5413 if you or someone you know has been involved in an accident. Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Boot Crew Media. Chris, Chaz, Ross joining again. We've lost 10 in a row. And Ross, I'll start with you because you made a great point before getting on. It wasn't like this game was close. They made it look close right at the end, but they got their they got it. They got killed again.
No, it's funny. I was my wife was watching, it's the same song and dance we've seen for a couple weeks now. And she was like, oh my god, she was getting all excited, and I was just sitting there like, yeah. So I was like, we're not gonna win this game. I don't know what you think. Don't let the final score fool you. We got fucking curbs. We got curb stomped.
Only a minute in, not bad, Chris.
What's up, man?
Chris, you seem very happy and content. You seem. What's going on?
I mean, look, man.
Can you pinpoint to one thing though? Like what is really like going on? I mean, we've lost 10 in a row.
Look, man. You could point at I think a plethora of things that is wrong right now. But I mean, look, I think that you're looking at a team that lost their identity when Zion went down, and a lot of guys were playing above their means, above their talent. And it goes back to what we were talking about in the offseason as to why you make certain upgrades, because Najee, I love Najee, for example, right? But he was playing up here. His fall back to being a regular NBA player on the end of a bench is so far, right? It's so far. It's the difference. We get confused between players playing exceptional for a period of time and believing that that's who they are. And I ain't attacking Najee because I think Najee has definitely improved. But I'm giving an example, and there's a lot of players on this roster and such. If you would have made, and you still have time to make certain roster upgrades to supplant when things that happen in life and in basketball typically happen. Dudes get tired. Dudes stop playing on hot streaks. They go through cold spells. Players and teams start to slowly fall away from things. Injuries happen. You got to prepare for these things, especially when players and coaches are not using certain advantages that you should be using night to night. Tonight was another example.
Let's piggyback off that, Chaz, because the clear mismatch again tonight was Jonas Valanciunas. And he stumbled around like we got down 25-30, and like Jonas is useless at that point. But once again, you would think, I mean, even Joel and AD are on the call are like, hey, get the ball to Jonas. And it was jump shot after contested jump shot after contested jump shot. I think we started off like 0 of 7 from deep. Herb Jones like took 3 or 4 of them. Just no identity, no game plan, Chaz, to make JV the focal point of the offense and go through him. He's got the mismatch.
This is Zion. This is Zion's team.
Are you trying to play? This is
Zion's team. Zion's the best player. Everybody else has to go. That's what it boils down to. You need to go. You need to maximize Zion. Get these guys out of here, man. Let's stop playing around, man.
Dude,
could you at least tell me that you're going to play that next time? Go ahead.
I mean, it's no different from anything I've been saying. I've been saying for a long time, Willie Green's a terrible coach. I don't want to hear about his staff. He's terrible. Okay, if you're the if you're the captain of the boat, I'm assuming you at least know how to swim. I don't care that everyone else doesn't know how to swim. You're the captain. I'm assuming if everything else goes wrong, you at least know how to drive the boat and swim. The Pelicans had the better team on paper with a healthy Luka, and you still were down about 30 points. You know what I'm saying? You got blown out. Only reason this was even a game is because Luka got hurt. You know what I'm saying? And then you probably got a couple favorable calls that went your way. The game was there for the taking. Again, Brandon, who's not an all-star. CJ McCollum, who's not an all-star. Jonas Valanciunas, who's been mismanaged, misused the majority of this season by a terrible coach and coaching staff. Got a bunch of guys who really probably shouldn't be getting rotational minutes on a good basketball team. And, I hate to say their names, but again, credit to Najee, respect to Najee. But if Najee is one of your best players on your team isn't very good. Jose, guys like that, guys you kind of knew would turn into a pumpkin at some point. And they're role players. So role players tend to play their best at home, and they haven't even been playing that well at home. So what do you? I don't personally, as long as you got this captain driving this boat, I don't think it matters who's on the team. And if you need everything, if Zion has to play for you to beat some of these teams you've lost to, then you just don't have a good team. Then this team is not as good as it. This team, okay,
Chaz,
this is
Zion had him at a 1 seed. I mean,
this is what I'm trying to figure out. And I always ask Chaz this question just to keep things in perspective, because we don't watch other teams the same way that we watch the Pelicans. So it's easy to say that Willie's a bad coach, but I'm a big on who you in the room with. Who are the great coaches in this league? Who are they?
In my opinion?
In your opinion?
I would say Spoelstra. I think Ty Lue is really good.
Okay.
I like what Indiana's doing. I always love Carlisle. I always love Carlisle.
Okay.
I don't want to say Pop goes without saying. Is Mike Malone a good coach to me?
Is he a great coach?
I think Mike Malone always has been really solid. I think Mike Malone.
Boston's interim coach right now, I'm forgetting the brother's name. Is he a great coach?
I don't know. I don't want to say that because
why? They play really good basketball.
Well, I don't want to say that because Brad Stevens had them playing really good basketball, and then Ime Udoka had them playing. They're just really great players, I would think. Okay. So it would be I don't know how to judge this gentleman just yet, but I thought Willie was a bad coach last year. I've always just happened to think he was just at the basics.
Chaz,
I understand. I'm just asking.
Whoever wants to take this, can a good staff make you better as a head coach? Do y'all think that? Do you think your supporting staff can make
That's a question for you, Justin. You're a coach.
I know the answer. I know the answer to that. I was wondering what y'all think because Ross. I mean,
look. So we've all said this from the jump, and I think you're asking a rhetorical question, and we all know the answer to it. And we've all said this is it's not a big secret. What is Willie Green if he has one redeeming skill as a head coach? What is it? You can say it.
He's a motivator, I guess.
Motivator,
yeah,
right?
He's a player's guy, right? The players seem happy. He keeps everybody motivated. It seems like you get guys on the end of the bench whenever everything's going well that come in, they play that clearly seems to be his calling card. That's his thing. That's not X's and O's. That runs out. That tank, that's a good quality to have. And it's a useful thing, maybe for an assistant coach, maybe for a head coach. But if that's your redeeming quality, we're still out there playing basketball against professional teams. X's and O's matter. Everybody thinks you just roll the ball out and X's and O's don't matter. They matter.
Was Mike Budenholzer a great X and O's coach?
What is he or was he?
Was he?
You got to define X's and O's, I guess, to a certain extent, right? Because it's
to your definition.
I think he's a good coach. Yeah, I think
he's a good X's and O's coach. What's his strength?
Exactly.
You don't have it.
I don't watch the Bucks enough. I watch the Pelicans every night.
Okay.
I watch the Bucks 4 times a year.
I understand. I'm asking Ross.
Is OKC's coach a good X's and O's coach? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't watch him enough.
Right, but what I'm saying is Willie definitely I think the problem with the Pelicans when some of the things that we watch is beyond him. I've been told that they have game plans that go towards certain players. Jonas, for example, in some cases, right? In which sometimes the players make the decisions. Now, from there, what you take from that, what they should do from that is something totally different. This is a joint when you are completely, I won't even just say going away from a game plan, or even if it's just a repost sometimes, right? Sometimes Jonas, you'll throw the ball down to Jonas. It's clearly that the plays ran up for him. Help comes. they end up throwing it out, and then there's no repost. Things like that. That falls on more than just Willie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Willie's a great coach. I'm not here to tell you he's a good or he's a moderate coach, but I'm very curious to know what are some of the great coaches so we know exactly, okay, are they a great coach because of circumstance, or do you really think that they're a great, like, I think Ty Lue's a great coach in any circumstance, because I've seen him in different places. I've seen what he can do in all different types of situations, whether he's had to play with great players or not, right? But I'm asking, just in regards to the Willie Green question and the staff, so on and so forth, Mike Budenholzer won a championship in Milwaukee. Is he a great coach?
Didn't he have Udoka? Oh, I'm sorry, Ime on his staff.
Yeah, I think
Chris,
the thing is,
Ham.
yeah, and we're getting
Oh,
mixed
sorry,
up here
Darren
'cause
Ham. That's what. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think Willie Green's our problem. That's a
He's not
Chaz.
the problem.
That's a Chaz issue that you're taking it up with. All I said was that I think Willie Green's best quality is that he is with the players. My personal opinion, watching us play a lot, is that his strength is probably not either game planning, because I think there's a lot of games that we just come into and I sit there at the end of the first quarter and I'm like, yeah, and you're right. Like, yeah, and maybe you're right. It is players to a certain extent. Just my opinion. I think Willie's best quality is
you don't like game plans, right? Like,
but that doesn't mean you can't win. That doesn't mean we can't win.
Hold up, that's the assistant coach's job. Willie Green doesn't game plan for every team. It's your assistant coach's job that do it 2 or 3 games before. You get the scouting report, you get the game plan from them. Bam. That's how it works.
I have to pose a couple questions, and these aren't exactly rhetorical. If he is this renowned motivator, how come this team comes out flat so often? How come you got Willie Hernangomez tweeting every week? How come you got Jackson Hayes at games and people like, Jax, why you not playing? And he's like, him? Why Kyra Lewis not playing? Mm-hmm. Why you got guys clearly unhappy? He's terrible, man. We got this intangible. He has this intangible redeeming quality. There's no way to measure that. But we can measure when you don't call a timeout. We can measure when you don't use a challenge. We can measure your rotations. These are things we can measure. Even him in the post game, we got to play with force. Oh, that starts with me. When you look at Willie Green on the sideline, he doesn't know what's going on a lot of the time. And even when he's mic'd up, he's giving the same spiel. He just gave the spiel the other day. You got to fight. The man doesn't know what he's doing. It's easy to win when you have Zion. I think Stan Van Gundy's a much better player, right? And Chris, I think Stan Van Gundy's a much better coach than Willie Green. He just had guys quit on him, right? Some guys quit on him. They say,
but why?
Because accountability. They quit on him because he held them accountable. They're not winners. That's what it is. They're not winners. The 2 guys in particular, one of the guys, he's in Portland right now looking terrible. And the other guy, he's been terrible, not terrible, but he hasn't been as good since he got paid. So let's just keep it real.
So it's not like you blaming the players, not the coach.
No, I'm saying Willie could be anybody. Like, I don't think he has any. I don't think he contributes anything.
I'm sorry. I'm having fun instigating right now. This is
I have a question too, though.
Wait, no.
Go ahead.
Well, Chris, what I wanted to ask you, Chris. What I wanted to ask you, Chris, is it more of a players thing right now, or a coaching thing, or is it a mixture of both? Because I see a lot of blame.
It's a mixture of both. If my coach call, and we see it all the time, players get calls. They get play calls from the sideline all the time, and they audible. It's just the way that it is. We use advantages, even if it's as simple as me going saying, "Yo, this is a Jackson night." I understand what they call, but we see it all the time. There are plays or calls, and the stars, the players that have a high usage or a hierarchy on the team, they end up making plays for themselves. It's what separates things. When we talk about in the playoffs, a lot of times we talk about team ball, so on and so forth. Superstars win. But those same guys are supposed to be in situations to know, okay, this is our advantage. Even if it's not through me, I got to feed this person. Like, yo, if they don't have second half, okay, different. You didn't play Jonas. But that first half, especially with the day that you had, which was a written excuse coming into it, which I didn't, I'm not 100% going for. I understood, empathize with it. But regardless, the first thing you should have been doing is saying we're going through our 7-footer. I've been saying it's your running game. It slows the pace down.
Yep.
That goes on more than just your coaching staff. Your players got to end up saying, forget all that, clear out the side. We throwing it into him.
That's my biggest thing is that they just put Herb Jones in the corner too, and they're misusing him. You know, I told you a couple days ago to be a screener, to be a connector, to be a guy that can make a short roll and make a decision. He's crafty enough; he can score. But when you stick him in the corner, man, he's not a 3-point shooter, and that's okay. Yeah. But he's bound to fail.
You know, that's two separate things. That's two separate things, though, right? That's two separate things we just talked about.
Okay.
One is we're talking about it should be obvious to go through Jonas in these situations, right? That's what both of you, everybody just agreed on that. Well, that to me, I agree. The coaches could easily say, hey, look, we're going through Jonas tonight, whatever. All right, players don't do it. Well, the other one is if like Herb Jones isn't running down the court saying, you know where a good spot for me to hang out is? Let me go find this corner real quick and chill. Like that's clearly set up for him. And that's why for me, I say, like who else, someone has to be to blame for that. Like that doesn't seem like Herb Jones' best skill. So I can't, it's hard for me to,
that's why I'm saying
it's half coaches and half players. But yeah. I want to go back to this Jonas thing because like we've been beating this horse for a while. At what point do you just have to either at an organizational level or, you know, at a coaching level, whatever. I mean, I guess maybe today we kind of did in the second half. Like at what point do you just stop playing Jonas?
No, they got to trade him.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if whether it's the players or whether it's the coaching or whether it's misuse or whatever it is, like they're not doing it. So like whether we think
got to trade him.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's basically where I was saying. It's like we keep doing this every single game. Like why are we going through Jonas? Why are we going through? Well, part of the reason we don't go through Jonas, and I sent Justin a couple of clips during the game, is man, I don't think that dude could check me in pick and roll. I really don't. I think me and Justin could go out there in a pick and roll situation and find an open shot. I believe that. I truly believe that. I watched her like. I mean, I keep blaming Herb Jones for a lot of this stuff, and it's probably not even his damn fault. It's not. It really isn't. Like we're overcompensating so bad. Like just go watch some. I'll just send it to all you. You can't play defense like that. You just can't play defense when your center is dropped back below the free throw line. The point guard is allowed to come off, and it's just you're playing 2-on-1. I don't care. You can have the best defenders in the world.
It doesn't work with JV because he's too slow and
but
flat-footed.
I think that's part of it. But I feel like I do feel like that's part of the reason that we don't run through him on the offensive side too. For some reason, like I just think there's a disconnect there.
What's the issue? Why is Steven Adams, just regular season wise, the playoffs is different, but why is Steven Adams playable in Memphis?
I thought that Chaz, go ahead.
Why is Brook Lopez playable in Milwaukee?
Well, with
Milwaukee, I can answer both of those questions. Steven Adams,
Brook Lopez is a much better player defensively. I mean, Brook Lopez is a much better player defensively. But I'm saying when Steven Adams was in New Orleans, we were ready for him to get the hell out of him quickly. Mm-hmm. Were we not?
Yep.
Yeah.
So what changed?
Well, I'm saying it's either misuse, right? Maybe we were either misusing or poor defensive schemes, not using those guys to the best of their ability. Maybe that's the case with Jonas. Maybe it isn't. The point is what we're doing right now don't work. We're getting put through the ringer every night, boys. Every night.
That's my problem. But Chaz, we talked about this, Chaz. David Griffin's history, he loves for some reason flat-footed centers. Derek Favors, Steven Adams, Jonas Valanciunas. Is this a trend with him?
I ain't gonna lie. I don't blame David Griffin for this. I blame David Griffin for
no. I'm not blaming. What I'm saying though is that he seems
like
the same type of center is what I'm saying. We haven't figured out how to use them correctly. But as Chris said, Steven Adams is thriving in Memphis.
But I mean, I look at the carryover from the staff personally. Like you can't look, man. When you get in your car and you use your GPS, do you just mute it? You say, forget what the GPS talking about. No one does that, right? Clearly, you're listening to something the person is saying. Either you're gonna say, he don't know what he's talking about, and that means you don't respect him, or you're not something's not translating there, right? It all goes back to the same thing. If all of us get audited tomorrow and the tax man come and say, hey, where'd this money go? You better have an answer. If I go ask Willie Green, Willie, what are you good at? What do you do? Like what you do? They come out flat. They look uninspired. People saying all type of weird stuff like, "Oh, I don't recognize this team." This the same team from last year. So what are you talking about? This is the same team from last year, plus CJ, plus Larry Nance, plus Dyson's injured, but plus second year guys going into their second year. It's clearly from the top. I don't blame the players for anything personally. JV, to your point, Ross, I think guys. JV has his limitations defensively, but I do think guys become even more uninspired when they can't get a touch offensively. They're like, what's the point? What's the point? I got my guy sealed. I go back to the Boston game. JV has Grant sealed, got him on his hip. There's nothing Grant could do. CJ McCollum drives into traffic. Trey Murphy cuts baseline, brings his man. Now JV's triple team. It's a terrible possession. This is a systemic problem, and it starts at the top. I don't necessarily believe that this is. I don't fault JV whatsoever. I don't think it has anything to do with the type of people David Griffin is bringing in, because at worst, they should at least look competent in the regular season and get exposed in the playoffs. Like Steven Adams for years in OKC, he was good in the regular season, got exposed in the playoffs. Got to the Pelicans, all of a sudden he sucks in the regular season. Goes to Memphis, now he's good in the regular season and gets exposed in the playoffs again. What changed when he got here? The staff sucks, and that staff includes Willie Green, to keep it real. Like, it's not the popular thing to say, but he sucks. Like, it is what it is, man.
Chris or Ross, don't want anything with that?
Look, man, I'll say this. I still think that they're going to be fine and they're going to make the playoffs.
Why?
I still think that they're going. Well, look, schedule alone, you got the second. I think now it's like the second easiest schedule the rest of the year.
Yeah, March real easy.
Schedule alone, they're going to be able to slowly climb back up the standings, and that's including whenever Zion comes back. And I do think that they're going to make some kind of move. So I mean, they're going to be fine. And I'll say this: like, look, there's worry about who they'll trade for and what they'll get. They still have the right amount of assets. And here's this. I've seen, and not just Chaz, actually, people that feel as if they've lost leverage. And the main comparison that I could give it to is I work in the car industry. And I saw when COVID change everything. Everything started to go over MSR, over sticker, over MSRP. But the industry survived off of trucks. The people that bought those trucks, that bought those higher priced units, Corvettes, the people that could afford it. So if you can afford to get said players, if you can afford to make some of these trades, you'll be fine. End of the day, make moves, upgrade the roster, but even without it, the schedule is horrible to end. Like, it's super. You should be able to walk into getting, at worst, outside of the not being in the play-in. They'll be fine. Certain players that are on the team now, including Brandon Ingram, will round about and play better. But what we're seeing now, I think you have to look at and say, how is this organization planning long term? Because we saw some of these holes in the offseason. We saw some of these holes last year to end the last season.
That's a really good point, Chris. Ross, you want to close this out?
No, I think, look, Chris makes some good points there. I do think, look, for me, the silver lining of tonight, and we all were kind of laughing about this. The silver lining for me tonight is I think we've officially forced the front office's hand to make a move with how they played in that first half tonight, because we got blown out today. I mean, forget the end of the game. Okay, yeah, it was nice to see BI get a little bit. Well, whatever. We got blown out tonight, and I do think I agree with Chris. I think it's that tonight's performance is gonna force the front office's hand into really, really improving the roster at the break. I mean, I don't think they're gonna do anything so drastic that it reduces what you can do this offseason. But I do think there's a change coming here in the next couple of weeks. It just has to. There's holes to fill, and I don't think it's going to be that difficult to fill them. I don't think you're going to have to just totally, let yourself get ripped off to to do it. I don't think we've lost any leverage. I still think, to Chris's point, we have plenty of assets available that teams want.
Chaz, I want you to say this because you got about like a minute here, but I want you to say, because you tweeted out that we should become a seller at the deadline.
Yeah, I think this is a seller's market. I think you got a couple of guys who I think they may have potentially peaked already. And this is like, and you got a couple of guys who clearly aren't a part of the long-term vision for this team. So, like, why wait until they get hurt again or someone gets into trouble or does anything happen? And this goes for several guys. Why not just maximize their value? You're not going nowhere this year without Zion. And you counting on Zion to come back and stay healthy the remainder of the time. And anybody you trade for, Willie Green gonna make them look like trash anyway. So it's just, you might as well just sell, man. In my mind, that's an option. I'm not necessarily advocating for it, but it could be a good idea.
Thanks for closing us out, Chaz. Presented to you by DraftKings, the official sports betting partner of Boot Crew Media in the NFL. Are you ready for the biggest Sunday in sports? DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 57, has all the Super Bowl action you need. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's by using code BOOT. New customers can bet $5 on Super Bowl 57 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly, only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT. They've lost 10 in a row. I'm miserable.
About to be 11.
Subscribe. So Lakers coming. Yeah.
Saturday.
Lakers Saturday and Chris Kyle will be in town, and then Kings Sunday. So yeah, this will be fun. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. Later.